Rahul Raju. Rahul Raju was a 7-year-old boy from Malapura in Kerala, India. He was playing with his friends in the neighborhood when he took a break and went to drink water from the public tap in the corner of the playground. He was last seen by his friends, who witnessed a bearded middle-aged man standing near to Rahul, who snatched his cricket bat and threw it to his friends. His friends collected the bat and continued playing. Later, they noticed that Rahul was not playing with them. The police were called in. They questioned many people, including a middle-aged man, Krishna Pillai, who was arrested by the Adur police for sexually assaulting and killing a 3-year-old girl. He had reportedly confessed that he had killed Rahul and thrown the body into a marsh near the palace ward. However, the police have failed to find the body and the investigation reached nowhere. Later, police found that the person's statements were false and fabricated. He was jailed later for the murder of the girl. Sometime after the kidnapping, Rahul's father received an anonymous letter stating that the child was taken to Thodapura for extracting his kidney. However, it was found false after verifying the hospital records. Based on media report, a boy similar to Rahul was seen begging in Mumbai. Police verified the information, but nothing fruitful came out of it. After preliminary inquiry conducted by the local police, the case was taken over by the CBI. The CBI probe moved towards the suspected involvement of Rahul's neighbor, Rojo George, who was near the playground on that day, but they could not come out with any substantial evidence. The CBI announced a reward of 50,000 rupees for anyone who could provide any information which could help trace the boy. Rahul remains missing for more than 13 years. Gaurav Tiwari. Gaurav Tiwari was a well-known paranormal investigator in India and some outside countries as well. His tryst with the paranormal began in 2007 while he was studying in Florida, USA to become a commercial pilot. Gaurav said he experienced phenomena like poltergeists and heard disembodied whispers in the apartment he was sharing with 4 other people. One of his flatmates also supposedly saw an apparition of a young girl. This got Tiwari to study the paranormal, and later he left his job and became a certified expert on paranormal activity from Paranexus Association of Florida. He came back to India and set up Indian Paranormal Society. He also appeared in some national and international television and radio shows. He acted in TV serials and shows like MTV Girls Night Out, Haunted Weekends with Sunny Leone, Bhoot Aaya and Fear Files, and has also acted in films like 16 December and Tango Charlie as a certified paranormal investigator and a hypnotist. But that one thing which made him more popular was the paranormal activity researches he was doing. According to the sources from his society, he had stayed in and investigated about 6,000 haunted places in India, some of which were telecasted in Fear Files and Bhoot Aaya shows. On the 6th of July 2016, Tiwari would conduct his last ever paranormal investigation. On the morning of July 7th, 2016, Gaurav was found dead under mysterious circumstances in the bathroom of his flat in Dwarka, Delhi. His family members said that around 10:30 am, Gaurav checked his email and went to the bathroom for a shower. At around 11 am, they heard a loud thud from the bathroom. When they tried to open the door, it was locked. They opened the door by force and found Tiwari lying on the floor. He was taken to the hospital, but the doctors could not resuscitate him. He was living with his parents and wife, and his family initially suspected he died from the trauma from falling on the bathroom floor. But primary police investigation found a black line around the neck of Gaurav. An autopsy report of the body said the cause of death was asphyxia. It was at first believed that Gaurav committed suicide, but still the police and the doctors have not been able to offer a concrete answer about the black mark on Tiwari's neck. In most suicide cases where death is by hanging, the trachea invariably ruptures. In the case of Tiwari, however, the black line around his neck had done no such damage. Such marks Tiwari often narrated during dinner table conversations or signs of revenge of spirits in distress. Tiwari often cited the example of the American-British 1976 supernatural horror film The Omen to narrate such black line theories. The film also had examples of a photographer finding black lines appearing from nowhere in his photographs of a priest probing mysterious and ominous deaths. Things took a peculiar turn when Gaurav's wife revealed a few days later that he had confided in her that he feared the presence of an uncontrollable negative force which was pulling him towards itself. His wife said that she did not take him seriously, thinking that it was work stress that was making him feel uneasy. At that time, Gaurav was investigating a suspected possessed girl in Janakpuri, Delhi. All of this led to the speculations that some paranormal ghost activity was involved in his mysterious death. According to the initial investigation, Gaurav was not going under any financial or other pressing issues. So according to the reports, his death is not really a case of suicide. Gaurav had recently been married and had a happy life. Police have so far failed to give any clear reason for Gaurav's death, and his death still remains a mystery. Jonathan Spollen. In 2012, Jonathan Spollen, a 28-year-old journalist from Dublin, went on a trip to India. He had left his job as a copy editor with the International Herald Tribune in Hong Kong last year and had also split from his girlfriend. He told his family and friends he wanted to spend time reflecting on the next chapter in his career. He first travelled to Nepal, where he was robbed in October, before flying from Kathmandu to Delhi in late November. He had a 3-month Indian visa that was due to expire on February 21st. After spending some time in southern state of Kerala, he made his way to the sacred city of Varanasi and from there north to Rishikesh. On February 3, 2012, he called his mother, Linda, who lives in Dublin, and told her that he was planning to go trekking alone for a few weeks near Rishikesh. He explained that the phone coverage is poor in the densely forested areas that he had intended to travel in, but promised he would send a text message whenever he could. This would be the last time her mother heard from him. When Jonathan failed to contact Linda after 3 weeks, she contacted local authorities in India as well as the Irish embassy. Jonathan's father, David Green, spent several weeks in Rishikesh, coordinating with the police and helping comb the surrounding area without any success. They also distributed missing person flyers all over the area hoping for any lead. Then, on 11th March, police discovered some of Jonathan's belongings. They were found in a very secluded, almost inaccessible spot near a small waterfall about 5 kilometers from the popular Lakshman Jhula district of Rishikesh. Among his belongings was a small backpack which contained his passport, clothes and money. Nearby, Jonathan's sleeping bag was tightly laid out with a book on top. Everything was wet, suggesting they may have been there for more than just a few days. In the following days, some scrunched up cards and papers, including his health card and Hong Kong travel pass, were found on a narrow trail a kilometer away. The discarded items appeared to point to one conclusion. Jonathan was doing what some spiritual tourists do in Rishikesh, deliberately shedding his possessions and his past life and renouncing who he was so he could follow a new path. Linda doubts the theory that her son was renouncing his past life. She said that she was close to her son and he would have told her if he was planning to do so. An X-ray was also found in Jonathan's discarded bag, showing he had been suffering from kidney stones, something which he never mentioned to his mother. There have been a number of sightings of Jonathan over the years, but none of them had been confirmed. While his family and friends have renewed their appeal to find him, they have no immediate plans to travel to India again anytime soon. Jonathan remains missing to this day. Arushi Talwar and Hemraj Bhanjare. Arushi Talwar was a 14-year-old student at the Delhi Public School. She was the daughter of a dentist couple, Dr. Rajesh Talwar and Dr. Nupur Talwar, and lived in an apartment in Sector 25, Jalvayu Vihar of Noida, Uttar Pradesh. Yam Prasad Bhanjare, better known as Hemraj, was the Talwar family's live-in domestic help and cook. On the morning of May 16, 2008, the Talwar family woke up to find their daughter murdered in her bedroom. They had last seen her the night before at around 10 p.m. before they all went to bed. Her body was covered with blanket on her bed, her throat was slit and her head bludgeoned. The family's living cook, Hemraj, was missing. By the time police got there were 15 people in the living room and 5 or 6 in the Talwar's bedroom. Only Arushi's room was vacant. The crime scene had been completely trampled upon. After discovering a near-empty scotch bottle on the kitchen counter, the police believed that drunk Hemraj had attempted to sexually assault Arushi and then killed her when she rejected him, before fleeing to his native Nepal. However, the next day, on 17th of May, police discovered the body of Hemraj in an advanced state of decomposition on the terrace of the Talwar's apartment. Both Hemraj and Arushi had suffered head injuries after being hit with a blunt instrument and then had their throats slit. Hemraj had been dragged for 20 feet. The weapon used for slitting the throats of the victims was never found. Police suspected the twin murders to be an insider job and said that they had been committed with surgical precision. Suspicion soon turned towards the Talwars as the murderers. Arushi's bedroom was right next to her parents at the back of the apartment, and Hemraj's was at the front. Police determined it would have been near impossible for them to not hear anything while their daughter was murdered in the next room. Police alleged that Rajesh had committed the twin murders after finding Arushi and Hemraj in an objectionable position. It was believed that Talwars murdered their daughter to preserve the family's honor. On May 23, 2008, Rajesh Talwar was arrested for the double murder. As the case became a topic of household debate with divided public opinion on who killed Arushi, the case was handed over to the CBI. Police stated that there were no signs of forced entry into the apartment, and the middle grill door had been found latched from the outside in the morning. Also, the door to Arushi's room would lock automatically when shut. Arushi's door could either be opened from inside or from outside with a key. Usually, her room would be locked at the night, and its keys would be at her mother Nupur's bedside. However, when she was discovered, her bedroom had been unlocked, and the key was found in the living room. Nupur later told police that she was not sure whether she closed Arushi's door the last time she entered the room at 11 p.m. and if she did, she might have left the keys hanging in the key slot. She claims to have stated this in several lie detector, brain mapping, and narco-analysis tests that she cleared. In 2013, the Superintendent Police Officer Mahesh Kumar Mishra told the court that on May 16, 2008, Rajesh Talwar claimed that he had locked Arushi's room from outside at 11:30 p.m. on the previous night. Rajesh also told him that he had forgotten to lock his own bedroom door from inside, and someone could have stolen the key to Arushi's room from his room. Rajesh also tried to keep police going onto the terrace by claiming he couldn't find the key to open it, which is why it took so long for them to find Hemraj's body. The key to the terrace door was never found. According to the Talwars, this key was present in Hemraj's bunch of keys, which went missing after the murders. According to some of the visitors, the parents acted very strangely and did not display shock or grief. Both Arushi and Hemraj had mobile phones, and both phones disappeared after the murder. Hemraj had apparently served himself dinner at around 10:30 p.m. on the night Arushi was killed, but he never ate it. His bed was still tidy in the morning, indicating that he didn't go to sleep on that night. A Ballantine's Scotch whiskey bottle with blood stains was found on the dining table. The blood stains were confirmed as that of Arushi and Hemraj by a DNA expert. The Scotch whiskey bottle came from a mini bar concealed behind a wooden panel. So, it appears that the person who took it out knew the house well. The bottle was seized in the morning of 16th May, but no clear fingerprints could be recovered from it. The police had gathered 26 fingerprints from the crime scene, but 24 of these were gathered through wrong methods and could not be preserved. Only 2 fingerprints were suitable for evidential purposes, but these did not match with any of the suspects. At around 3:43 am, nearly 3 hours after Arushi's murder, the internet router in Arushi's room was switched off. The CBI produced a technical expert who stated that the switching on and off of the router after a long gap can only happen due to either power cut or manual intervention. There was no power cut on the night of the murders, a fact attested to by the electricity department. The router was next switched on at 6 am. However, the router switched on and off a number of times with long gaps throughout 16th May, even when the police and visitors were present in the apartment. The CBI concluded that such unexplained router activity made this piece of evidence unreliable. On June 13th, CBI arrested Krishna Thadrai, who was an assistant at Rajesh's clinic, and 2 of his friends, Vijay Mandal and Raj Kumar, in connection with the case. Hemraj, Krishna and Raj Kumar were all of Nepali origin and had been recruited through Vishnu, an ex-servant of the Talwars. A narco test on all 3 had revealed that the 3 suspects had apparently watched a Nepali song on the TV in Hemraj's room on the night of the murders. Krishna and Raj Kumar had also apparently confessed to the murders in the narco test, but the CBI could not find any corroborative evidence against them. Also, the 3 men had described different sequences of events during their narco test. The 3 were arrested, but the drug-induced confession was not enough to charge them, and all 3 were released from prison. On June 20th, CBI conducted a lie detector test on Rajesh Talwar. 5 days later, a second lie detector test was also conducted on Arushi's mother, Nupur Talwar, as the first one was found to be inconclusive. After spending almost 2 months in jail, Rajesh got bail on 12th July due to having no forensic or material evidence. On November 25, 2013, CBI judge convicted the Talwars guilty of both murders and destruction of evidence. The CBI court awarded life imprisonment to Nupur and Rajesh Talwar a day later. The couple then filed an appeal in the Allahabad High Court challenging the previous court orders, and on 12th October 2017, the High Court acquitted the Talwars of all charges, stating the evidence presented by the CBI against the Talwars was not satisfactory beyond reasonable doubt, and therefore they must be given benefit of the doubt instead of being convicted based solely on suspicion. The local police have been heavily criticized for botching up the investigation in the case. They didn't secure the crime scene immediately, and they lost a lot of crucial evidence. Neither did they bar the media from contaminating the crime scene, as a result of which evidence collection was hampered. The case remains open and unsolved. Dushyant Sharma. Dushyant Sharma, a 26-year-old residing in Jodhwara, Jaipur, India, lived with his wife, son and parents. Tragically, his parents had previously lost 2 sons, Piyush to illness while he was still a toddler, and in 2012, they lost another young son, Himanshu, in an accident, leaving Dushyant as the only surviving child. Described by his family as a shy yet caring and dutiful son and husband, Dushyant held an average build and was employed as a project manager at a mining company. His wife said, in 3 years of their marriage, he never said a rude word to me. He pitched in with the household chores and had a knack for cooking. She also noted Dushyant's enthusiasm for exploring new things in life. However, 3 years down his married life, The novelty and passion Dushyant once felt in the relationship had dried up. Exhausted by the monotony of his everyday life, Dushyant sought an escape by creating a Tinder profile under the alias Vivan Kohli. In his Tinder profile, he pretended to be a wealthy businessman from Gurgaon who had assets in millions. In February 2018, Dushyant, using the alias Vivan, matched with Priya Seth. Their relationship blossomed as they went on several coffee dates. Priya perceived Vivan as a highly successful businessman, while Vivan believed Priya cherished him for who he was and not his money. However, this was further from the truth, but more on that later. On May 2, 2018, at 7 p.m., Dushyant left his house in his father's Maruti Alto. He told his family that he was going out for work-related matter and would be back in an hour. However, he never returned. At 9:15 p.m., his father Rameshwar Sharma called his mobile phone, but it was disconnected. His phone was switched off right after. At 9:45 p.m., his wife called him and Dushyant told her that one of his company's trucks had been confiscated by the police and they were demanding a penalty of 8 to 10 lakh rupees. He said he would return later at night or in the morning. The family kept trying his number for the rest of the night, but it got disconnected every time. As midnight passed without another word from him, his family notified the police. The following morning at 9:45 a.m., Rameshwar received a ransom call from his son's phone number. Dushyant had been kidnapped. He told his father, "Send these people 10 lakh or they will kill me. Mujhe bacha lo. Please save me." Suddenly, a female voice intervened, issuing a chilling ultimatum: transfer the money to his account within 20 minutes or face dire consequences. Varna maar dungi main, or I will kill him. Being a middle-class family, Rameshwar told her that he did not have 10 lakhs at the moment and needed some time. The woman on the other end asked him how much he could send right away. Rameshwar told her that he only had 2 or 3 lakhs that he could send right away. She told him to send it in 20 minutes or she will kill him. By 12 p.m., Rameshwar had wired 3 lakhs to his son's bank account. He sent the receipt of the transaction to his phone through WhatsApp. He called his son's mobile phone, but the phone was switched off. Later that night, Rameshwar received a call from the Jodhwara police station asking him to come to the SMS hospital to look at a dead body. The body had been found stuffed in a trolley bag along the Jaipur-Delhi highway, horrifically dismembered into several pieces. Despite the gruesome state rendering the identification seemingly impossible, Rameshwar managed to identify the body as his son's by recognizing specific personal items found among the remains, which included sacred red threads, a black amulet, and finger rings. Police started their investigation by going through phone records on Dushyant's phone. In the call records, police found a number that he had called several times over the past few days. That number, along with Dushyant's phone number, were in the same location when his phone was switched off. Police went to the location but did not find anyone. However, they found out that 2 people lived in the house, Priya Seth and her boyfriend Dikshant Kamra. Priya Seth was the same woman Vivan aka Dushyant had been dating on Tinder without his family's knowledge. On May 4th, Priya Seth, her boyfriend Dikshant Kamra, along with their friend Lakshay Walia were arrested, and the truth would soon be revealed. Priya Seth had left one life for another. She was born and raised in a middle-class family in a small town in Rajasthan called Falna. Her family lauded her as naturally bright, excelling in academics, dance, and debating. Yet, alongside her strengths, they noted her stubborn attitude and quick temper. She just couldn't take no for an answer. She would often cause chaos at home, even breaking things when she didn't get her way. Following her high school graduation in 2012, Priya pursued higher education at a college in Jaipur. Opting for an arts program, she simultaneously attended coaching classes aimed at preparing her for entrance exams into administrative services. Coming from a small town, the vibrant and extravagant lifestyle of Jaipur captivated Priya. Immersing herself in the fast-paced atmosphere, she found herself dreaming of attaining wealth and success in this dynamic environment. The allure of the city fueled her aspirations for a better future. She was receiving 20,000 rupees every month for her expenses from her parents. However, the lifestyle she wanted, 20,000 rupees, was not enough. So she started looking for jobs. As she browsed through newspaper ads, she stumbled upon an agency that was hiring. Upon reaching out, she discovered it was an escort service. They offered her a role to recruit college girls as escorts, promising payment in return. Initially hesitant, she declined the offer. However, upon discovering the lucrative pay involved, she eventually accepted and started working for the agency. Her job involved luring college girls to join as escorts, earning herself a substantial income. Gradually, she developed an addiction to money, leading her to pick up smoking and drinking. Soon, Priya launched her own enterprise, a website offering high-profile escorts to rich businessmen. However, her business did not involve providing escort services. When the clients contacted her on WhatsApp, she sent them some photos to choose from and demanded the entire payment of 25,000 to 30,000 rupees in advance. After receiving the money, she would switch off her phone and vanished. She kept changing her phone number. Her other ploy was to pose as an escort herself. She would meet with clients and get her payment in advance. She would then take her customers over to a hotel room and excuse herself for a moment, claiming she needed to settle payments with her driver, then vanished from the scene entirely. She focused on people aged between 35 and 50, typically married, who feared public shame, leading most of her victims to stay silent after being conned. Although one client did file a case in 2014, she was arrested but was released on bail. She was arrested again in 2014 for attempting to slice open the ATM machine with a gas cutter. However, she was out in a day. In 2018, she started a relationship with her bank manager. At first, she behaved like a typical girlfriend and both started living together. However, she soon started threatening him with false rape case if he did not pay her 10 lakh rupees. She also threatened his family. The man reported it to the police and she was arrested. However, she was released only a month later.
तरह की प्रॉब्लम्स आई मैम आप?
प्रॉब्लम्स आती हैं क्योंकि एकदम से अपन ये किसी को कन्विंस करना आसान नहीं होता है कि भाई लड़की का हर कोई मान लेगा कि उसके साथ हुआ है या उसमें हमें चालान पेश करने में बहुत आसानी रहती है। लेकिन अगर लड़का उसके खिलाफ करता है कि मैंने उसके साथ ये किया है, वो मुझे ब्लैकमेल कर रही है, तो एक तरह से ये लीग से हटके काम।
In February 2018, somewhere amid Priya's lust games, she met Dikshant Kamra on Tinder and she would start dating him. They would eventually rent a house together in Gandhinagar. Dikshant was a failed model and producer based in Mumbai who was in 25 lakh rupees in debt. To get away from his debtors, he moved to Jaipur. To pay off Dikshant's debt, the couple had planned to kidnap and extort money from someone. It was not decided at the time whom they were going to be kidnapping, but when Priya matched with Vivan, who she believed was a wealthy businessman, Priya suggested they kidnap him and extort money from him. They also asked their friend Lakshay Walia for his help. On 2nd May, Priya called Vivan and told him to meet her at her house, where Dikshant and Lakshay lay in wait. Upon reaching her residence, Vivan was greeted by Priya. She welcomed him inside her home, where the two men jumped him. They tied him up, slipped a polythene bag over his head, and thrashed him. Vivan realized he had been set up. Priya told Vivan to give them 10 lakh rupees or they will kill him. Vivan told them that he did not have 10 lakh and that his name was not Vivan, but Dushyant Sharma. He had lied to her about his identity. At first, Priya did not believe him, but after they checked his wallet, they found an ID card and a driver's license that confirmed his name was Dushyant Sharma. Priya came to the stark realization that the supposed wealthy businessman was in reality a middle-class man with a wife and son. Complicating matters further, he happened to be a local resident, making his release a potential threat to their business. They then beat Dushyant more and pressured him to call his father and arrange 10 lakhs or they will kill him. During their questioning, the police asked why they killed Dushyant even though his father had transferred 3 lakhs to his account, to which Priya said they had already killed Dushyant before even receiving the money. After the ransom call, the trio realized Dushyant's debit card had a daily withdrawal limit of 25,000 rupees. Fearing that Dushyant's father would alert the authorities, they decided to kill Dushyant. Dikshant Kamra and Lakshay Walia threw him on the bed. Dikshant then sat on his chest and first tried to strangle him with his hands and then suffocate him with a pillow. However, Dushyant survived. Priya then brought a knife from the kitchen and handed it to him. He then stabbed his neck 10 to 11 times. After Dushyant was dead, Lakshay went home to change clothes while Priya and Dikshant cleaned up the crime scene. They went to the market and bought a trolley bag. They then dismembered his body into several pieces and stuffed them into the bag. They then dumped it on the highway. While on their way, they received a call from Dushyant's father on Dushyant's phone confirming that he had deposited 3 lakhs in his account. Prior to the murder, they had coerced Dushyant into revealing his debit card PIN. They then went to the nearest ATM and withdrew 25,000 rupees, maxing out the day's withdrawal limit. The trio returned to their room and later that evening, Priya, unfazed by the events, met with a client at a hotel and asked him to pay in advance. She then excused herself with the pretext that she had to pay her driver and left the scene. By the time Priya returned, Dikshant and Lakshay had cleaned up the house and bought a fake number plate for Dushyant's car. They then decided to flee and headed to Gandhinagar railway station, intending to catch a train. However, their escape was cut short as the police apprehended all three. The trio eventually admitted to killing Dushyant. The 3 of them were charged with kidnapping, extortion, murder, and elimination of evidence. As the police entered their house, they found blood splotches all over the house, including the floor, bed, and the mattresses. Priya apparently loved buying expensive products, and it is estimated her monthly expenses amounted to 2 lakh rupees. In her house, police found 2 expensive branded shoes costing 75,000 rupees and 35,000 rupees, and a designer watch worth 45,000 rupees. In subsequent interviews, Priya's brazen demeanor regarding her actions has left the nation stunned. Throughout her interviews, Priya displayed no sense of regret or remorse. Instead, she wore a smile and even laughed. When questioned about her involvement in the escort service fraud by documentary filmmaker Deepika Narayan Bhardwaj, Priya defended her actions, referring to her deceit of unfaithful men as a form of social justice that was cut short by her arrest. She boasted of swindling over 1,000 clients in past 8 years. In November 2023, Priya Seth, Dikshant Kamra, and Lakshay Walia were sentenced to life in prison for the murder of Dushyant Sharma. Pradyuman Thakur. Pradyuman Thakur was a 7-year-old boy living with his parents Varun Chandra Thakur and Jyoti Thakur along with his elder sister 11-year-old Vidhi in Gurugram, India. Pradyuman was described as a happy and mischievous child. At the time, he was studying in the 2nd standard of Ryan International School in Gurugram. On September 8, 2017, just like any other day, Pradyuman and his sister Vidhi woke up around 6:30 am to get ready for school. The family had breakfast and at 7:40 am, their father Varun drove them to school. Previously, Pradyuman and Vidhi used to rely on the school bus for transportation, but due to safety concerns, Varun had recently taken on the responsibility of driving his children to school. Varun dropped his kids at the school gates at 7:55 am and headed back home. Just 10 minutes later, around 8 or 5 am, when teachers were just entering their classrooms and students were settling into their seats, they heard screams coming from the hallway. The school staff rushed outside to find a horrifying sight. Just outside the school washroom in the hallway, they found Pradyuman lying on the floor in a pool of blood. The school staff immediately called out to the school bus conductor, Ashok Kumar, who was washing up at a nearby water cooler, and asked him to come help carry Pradyuman to a car belonging to one of the school teachers. Ashok rushed and picked up the child and carried him to the car. Pradyuman was taken to a nearby hospital in Badshahpur. Meanwhile, Varun Thakur just arrived home after dropping off his kids at school. At 8:10 am, his wife received a phone call. As his wife was busy with housework, Varun picked it up. On the other end was the receptionist from the school. She told him to call the junior school supervisor immediately. Varun called her twice, but the phone was unreachable. He tried the 3rd time, and the school supervisor told him that his son was found outside the school washroom and he had been bleeding. Varun was asked to reach Badshahpur Hospital. At that moment, Varun believed that his child might have had a fall and gotten hurt, and he wasn't worried. As Pradyuman's parents were on their way, they received another call informing them that Pradyuman had been moved to a much bigger Artemis hospital. Worried that the injuries might be more severe than he had initially thought, Varun hurried to the Artemis hospital. Upon arriving at the hospital, Varun, expecting to comfort his injured son, was taken to the emergency room, where Pradyuman was lying in the hospital bed, his shirt unbuttoned and bandages barely concealing a deep wound on his neck. He was told by the doctor that Pradyuman had succumbed to his injuries. It was evident to him from the injuries that this was not an incident as a result of an accident or a fight. Rather, it appeared to be a deliberate, cold and calculated murder. News of the murder spread fast and the media reached the Ryan International School. The school's administration and the authorities responsible for the students' safety found themselves under media spotlight, subject to intense scrutiny. Even though a murder had happened in the school premises, school neglected to call the police. It was Pradyuman's parents who eventually notified the police. Police started their investigation around 11:30 am. Unfortunately, the crime scene was not properly secured, leading to journalists, staff, and the parents inadvertently destroying the evidence. Blood samples and fingerprints were collected by the forensic team from the crime scene. Outside the washroom, there were bloody handprints and blood splatters on the walls, suggesting that Pradyuman had crawled out, potentially hitting the wall in his attempt to escape. Inside one of the washroom stalls, police recovered the knife that was used to kill Pradyuman. Police checked the CCTV footage from the hallway near the scene of the crime. Even though the CCTV did not have a clear view of the washroom, the police determined Pradyuman entered the washroom and a few minutes later, they saw him crawl out of the bathroom, collapsing in the hallway. By noon, hundreds of angry parents had gathered inside the school, shouting slogans, breaking class windows and tables. As a result, the school was finally shut off to the public. By 3 p.m. that day, an autopsy was conducted. According to the autopsy, there were 2 cuts on Pradyuman's neck. One was superficial and the other was fatal. Pradyuman had sustained an 18 centimeter long wound which ran from the middle of his neck all the way to the back of his ear. The attacker had slashed the veins near the victim's throat and esophagus. As a result, Pradyuman would have been unable to scream or call for help. The wound was 2 centimeters deep. The coroner stated that the murderer was stouter and bigger than Pradyuman. That day, hundreds of people, including Pradyuman's parents, marched into the police station, demanding the person responsible to be put behind bars. Under mounting public pressure, the police apprehended 10 individuals who had used the restroom around the time of Pradyuman's death. While questioning them, they observed that one of the individuals had blood stains on their clothes. Based solely on this observation and in a hastily conducted investigation, the Gurugram police announced to the media within 9 hours of the murder that the school bus conductor Ashok Kumar was the perpetrator. It's worth noting that Ashok Kumar had carried Pradyuman to the car, explaining the presence of the blood on his shirt. Despite this, he became their prime suspect. As per the police theory, Ashok arrived at the school in the morning bus around 7:50 a.m. after the children had disembarked from his bus. He had intended to use the toolkit knife present in the bus for his personal needs that day. But upon taking it out of the box, he discovered that it was rusted. Consequently, he entered the school premises in search of a washroom to clean the knife. According to the police theory, when Pradyuman entered the washroom, they say Ashok Kumar tried to sexually assault him, but when he started to scream for help, Ashok panicked and pulled out the knife and stabbed him in the throat. He then leaves the knife at the scene of the crime and walks out of the washroom and washes his clothes at the nearby water cooler. This is when he was called to assist in carrying Pradyuman to the car. To support this theory, they claimed that the gardener, who was among the initial individuals to discover Pradyuman, had told them that he saw Ashok washing his blood-stained clothes and slippers at the water cooler. A teacher, along with 2 more students, claimed to have seen Ashok near the washroom. The next day, the Gurugram police paraded Ashok Kumar in front of the media. Ashok even confessed to murdering Pradyuman in front of the media.
गलत काम करना चाह रहे थे उसके साथ। हाँ जी, फिर वो नहीं माना, रोड मचाना का, तो फिर मैंने उसके बाद चाकू चला दिया उसको।
The arrest of Ashok was met with public doubts and concern, including Pradyuman's own parents. Pradyuman's mother, a few days later, stated that she does not believe that Ashok was the killer and that he was being framed. Police's version of events did not make sense, as despite the claims that Ashok had tried to sexually assault Pradyuman, the autopsy report ruled out any sign of a sexual assault. Moreover, the driver of the bus, in which Ashok Kumar was the conductor, came forward and told media that he was pressured by the Gurugram police to state that the knife found at the scene of the murder was part of the bus toolkit. Frustrated by the haphazard investigation conducted by the Gurugram police, Pradyuman's father filed a petition at the Supreme Court, asking for the investigation to be transferred to the Central Bureau of Investigation. On 15th September 2017, the state chief minister announced that the case was transferred to the CBI, an elite group of highly trained investigators. The CBI then started their own investigation from the start. They sent a forensic team to the school to review the evidence and scene of the crime independently from the Gurugram police investigation. They re-examined the clues, forensic evidence, and found no evidence that Ashok Kumar, arrested by the Gurugram police, was involved in the murder. A forensic investigation by the CBI found that the fingerprints found at the crime scene did not match Ashok. Following this, on 22nd November 2017, Ashok was granted bail by the district court in Gurugram. On 28th February 2018, Ashok was acquitted of all charges relating to the murder of Pradyuman Thakur. Ashok stated that his confession had been coerced. During questioning, Ashok told the CBI that the theory was concocted by the Gurugram police and he was made to rehearse it several times before he could say it in a proper sequence. He alleged that he was beaten up mercilessly, was not given food, and was not allowed to sleep until he confessed. It was also found that the gardener actually stated that he had not seen any bloodstains on Ashok's clothing before he assisted them in picking up Pradyuman to take him to the hospital. He also stated that he had also been repeatedly assaulted by the police in an effort to coerce him into confessing to the murder. The teacher too confirmed that Ashok stained his shirt while lifting Pradyuman to take him to the car. The witnesses told the CBI that their statements were tweaked to suit the line of investigation by the Gurugram police, just as Ashok was compelled to confess to a murder. The CBI then closely observed the CCTV footage, inspected the crime scene, and monitored the movements of everyone near the washroom. In the CCTV footage, they did see Ashok Kumar entering the washroom. However, he left before Pradyuman got there. The CBI started investigating all the students who had initially seen Pradyuman in the hallway. With the help of the school staff, all the students were identified and the CBI questioned them. One of the students, however, stood out. In the CCTV footage, the CBI accessed a 7-second clip showing Pradyuman with his student, something the Gurugram police had ignored. When the CBI enhanced the photo, they noticed that the student was carrying something in his shirt. They believe it was the knife used to kill Pradyuman. He was seen entering and exiting the washroom around the time of the murder. On 7 September 2017, the CBI arrested the unnamed class 11th student who was aged 16 at the time for Pradyuman Thakur's murder. The student was one of the first students present at the crime scene and had informed school authorities that Pradyuman had been injured. This student had been questioned by the CBI before his arrest. They had also pulled up his phone records and found that the student had searched about types of poison before the murder and ways to remove fingerprints after the murder. The CBI also found that the student had purchased a knife a few days before the murder from a local market. It was found that this student was not doing well academically. 2 other students had alleged that prior to the murder, the student had brought poison to the school and tried to trick some students into drinking it by mixing it in their water bottle in an attempt to postpone the half-yearly exam and parent-teacher meeting. Fortunately, the students detected something unusual and refused to drink it. It was reported that the incident was brought to the notice of the class teacher, but it was not taken seriously. One of the students said that around 3 weeks before the attack, the student had told them that they did not have to worry about the upcoming exams and parent-teacher meeting. When asked why, he reportedly said that it would not happen. During his interrogation, the student had confessed to murdering Pradyuman in the presence of his father, independent witnesses, and a juvenile welfare official. A CBI officer said the student had devised a plan to kill someone so that the exams and the PTM would be cancelled. He said, quote, "The student lured Pradyuman inside on the pretext of discussing something important and within seconds slit his throat. Somebody was going to die that day. He came prepared that he was going to use the knife he was carrying on someone. Pradyuman just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time." After murdering Pradyuman, the student informed the school staff about the injured boy. As teachers and staff started to gather near the washroom, he slipped away and sat in his classroom. He was late by a few minutes for the exam and did not write anything in the exam. Sources said the student was quite popular in the school as he used to play the piano, but he didn't know Pradyuman. He was known to often skip classes and was found in the music room. His interest was in music, not so much in his studies. On 11th November 2017, since the student was a juvenile at the time of the murder, the student was placed in a juvenile home for observation to determine if he will be tried as an adult or a juvenile. After conducting evaluations on the student's mental and physical state, the Juvenile Justice Board declared on 20th December 2017 that he would be treated as an adult and undergo a regular trial in court. The trial for Pradyuman's murder has yet to begin. In October 2022, the Supreme Court granted interim bail to the accused. In January 2021, police officers of the Gurugram Police were charged with framing Ashok Kumar by the CBI. The charges included offences relating to falsifying documents, torture, and criminal conspiracy. They have not yet been arrested on these charges. Pradyuman's parents are still fighting to get justice for their son's murder. The National Human Rights Commission ordered the Gurugram police to compensate Ashok for the wrongful arrest, but he refused to accept it, deeming the offered amount inadequate. Ever since getting out of prison, Ashok has never been able to live a normal life. He was terminated from his job and was evicted from his residence. He and his spouse faced challenges in providing for their children, encountered difficulties in enrolling them in schools, and were denied access to medical care. 5 years have gone by, but their lives have never been the same.
Shraddha Walkar. Shraddha Walkar was born in 1995 in Vasai, which is in the Palghar district of Maharashtra, India. She lived with her parents, Vikas Madan Walkar and Suman Madan Walkar, as well as her younger brother, Srijay Walkar. Shraddha was pursuing a bachelor's degree in mass media at the New English School of Viva College. In their adolescence, Shraddha and her brother witnessed frequent fighting between their mother and father. Finally, in 2016, Shraddha's father, Vikas, would eventually separate from his wife, Suman, and would move into a house with his mother, away from his kids and his soon-to-be ex-wife, but in the same locality. Shraddha and her brother would stay in the family home with their mother. In 2018, Shraddha decided to take on full-time work in order to remove some of the burden from her mother. Living in the small city of Palghar, which lacked the myriad of resources that a big city would boast, Shraddha decided to move to the metropolis of Mumbai to look for loftier opportunities to enrich not only her life, but that of her family's as well. With the help of a friend, Shraddha moved to Mumbai and rented a modest flat. She was able to secure an entry-level job at a call center in a multinational company in Malad, Mumbai. As Shraddha was a newcomer to the city, she was looking forward to making friends. And while working at her new job, Shraddha met Aftab Amin Poonawalla. It is unclear how the two initially met, with some sources claiming that Shraddha met Aftab via the Bumble app, while other sources claim they simply met at work. Aftab worked at the same company as Shraddha. Coincidentally, he had lived in the same area of Vasai as Shraddha before he too moved to Mumbai for a job. This made for a fast friendship. Aftab had done his schooling at St. Francis High School in Vasai and had completed his bachelor's in management studies from LS Rahija College. Aftab liked cooking and had an Instagram account dedicated to food with the Insta handle of Hungry Chokro, where he would review restaurants and eateries. Shraddha and Aftab started spending much of their free time together. They would regularly talk on the phone and meet in person outside of work. Aftab shared Shraddha's passion for traveling and love of hiking, which brought them closer together both in friendship and in romance. Soon, Shraddha and Aftab would make their coupling official, and Aftab would eventually ask Shraddha to move in with him. Together, they would take out a lease on a flat in the Kidney complex in Naigaon East. In 2019, Shraddha decided to visit her mother in Palghar. Shraddha told her mother about her relationship with Aftab. She told her mother that she was falling in love with him and that they were housed together in an official relationship. She also told her mother that she intended to marry Aftab. Shraddha's mother, however, was against her relationship. In a later interview, Shraddha's father said, quote, "My daughter told my wife in 2019 that she wants to be in a live-in relationship with Aftab Poonawalla. My wife and I told her not to because I am Hindu, and that boy is Muslim. We don't do interreligion marriage." Shraddha got angry with her parents, and a fight ensued. Her parents recall that she stormed out of her house, saying, quote, "I'm 25 years old now, and I have every right to make my own decisions." Shraddha went back to Mumbai and cut off all ties with her family. Her mother tried contacting Shraddha several times, and even attempted to dissuade her from marrying Aftab. However, Shraddha was adamant she wanted to marry Aftab regardless of her family's beliefs. In January of 2020, Shraddha's mother died of natural causes. Shraddha went back to her family home for her mother's funeral and reportedly told her father that she had been fighting with Aftab and that Aftab had been physically abusing her. However, she made the caveat that Aftab would always apologize for his actions and eventually everything would go back to normal. Shraddha's father told her to leave Aftab and move back to Vasai, but Shraddha insisted that Aftab was not a bad person and that she still wanted to marry him. The relationship between Shraddha and her father had become strained ever since her father started living separately. She would not talk to him, and he recalls that the only updates he would get of her were from her social media posts. After her mother's funeral, Shraddha moved back to her flat in Mumbai. In total, Shraddha talked to her father on the phone only 3 times after her mother's death. The third call would be the last time that Shraddha's father ever heard from her. While both would get updates about Shraddha's life from her social media posts, Shraddha would officially cut all contact from her father and brother. Shraddha was active on Instagram and WhatsApp. She would regularly post pictures of her food and drinks, and her WhatsApp status would change frequently. From these posts, her brother and father would know that Shraddha was doing okay day to day. With no family to turn to, Aftab became the only emotional anchor in Shraddha's life. Aftab was by her side after her mother's death, and Shraddha's friend in an interview said about him, quote, "Shraddha used to tell me that Aftab would cook for her, even feed her with his own hands. But she also told me how the same man would thrash her brutally at other times." Shraddha and Aftab would have arguments regarding financial issues. Shraddha would work and pay for their living expenses for much of the time. Aftab would, for the most part, stay home and do nothing. He was never able to hold down a job. Shraddha reportedly also accused Aftab of cheating. She said that she'd caught him talking to other women on dating apps several times, which resulted in many fights. However, every time there would be an argument, Aftab would later say sorry to Shraddha, and she would eventually forgive him. Despite all the violent fights, Shraddha still wanted to marry Aftab and start a family, but he kept putting it off. Aftab also claimed to friends that he felt Shraddha was pressuring him into marriage, a point of contention, he said, which often escalated their arguments to larger fights. By mid-2020, Aftab's parents got to know more about their relationship. His parents were also against their being together and dissuaded him from an interreligious marriage. However, he was adamant. In October of 2020, the couple moved from their apartment in Naigaon to a Regal Cooperative Housing Society in Vasai. Reportedly, in the rental application, they described themselves as a married couple. Shraddha had not talked about Aftab's violent outbursts to her friends. It was only in November of 2020 that she called one of them and told them about Aftab's abusive behavior. The friend said, quote, "Shraddha reached out to me after being beaten up by Aftab. My friend and I went to their flat and confronted Aftab and threatened to file a case against him. Shraddha stayed for 2 days at the house of a common friend, but then she again went back to him. I do not know what influence he had on her, but one thing was clear. She loved him and was emotionally dependent on him." On November 21st, 2020, after being assaulted yet again, Shraddha went with a friend to Tulinj police station in Nalasopara to file a complaint. In the complaint letter to the police, Shraddha said that Aftab had been abusing her and beating her, and said that he even attempted to kill her through suffocation. She further stated, quote, "He scares and blackmails me that he will kill me, cut me up in pieces, and throw me away. It's been 6 months that he has been hitting me, but I did not have the guts to go to the police because he would threaten to kill me." In the letter, Shraddha claimed that Aftab's parents would visit the couple on weekends and that they were aware he beat her. She submitted the letter, and the police then asked her to get a medical exam for the official record. However, Shraddha changed her mind prior to doing so, most likely, her friends suppose, out of mortal fear. The police said that Shraddha had filed an application, but that she had not proceeded further with the complaint, as she neglected to file an FIR. An FIR is the first information report used by police organizations to triage cases. It is unclear why Shraddha chose not to pursue her police report further, but some sources claim that Aftab arrived at the station and entreated her to take back the complaint before submission, otherwise he claimed he would kill himself. While other sources claim that Shraddha never proceeded further due to Aftab's parents making a promise that Aftab would move out of the apartment. Shraddha still stayed with Aftab, and regular arguments and fights continued throughout the year of 2021. Shraddha would pursue Aftab for marriage, but he was reluctant, which led to frequent fights, often turning physical yet again. In 2022, in an effort to renew their relationship, they decided to move out of Mumbai and shift their lives to Delhi for better job opportunities and possibly a life away from their families. But before moving, they decided to go on a hiking trip to Himachal Pradesh, as both enjoyed hiking and hoped this trip could be a turning point for their relationship. According to one of her friends, Shraddha had told him that she'd saved up a small amount of money, which she hoped would last the couple for at least 2 months. They had hoped to find a job in Delhi after returning from their hiking trip. On the 6th of May, 2022, the couple left for their brief but rugged vacation, arriving back to their new home in the city of Delhi on May 8th. They checked into a hotel and stayed at the hotel for 1 to 2 days. On the 11th or 12th of May, the couple went to a common friend who lived in Shadipur. The friend helped them find and rent an apartment there. The couple soon shifted to their new apartment. They hoped that this would be the beginning of a new life. However, the problems they had in their relationship continued in Delhi. Frequent fights would occur about trivial matters. Shraddha's friends and family had no idea that she had moved to Delhi. Shraddha's father and brother used to get updates about her life from her social media posts. However, by September of 2022, Shraddha had not posted anything for many months. Worried, Shraddha's father and brother tried contacting her several times. However, her phone had been switched off. They contacted Shraddha's friends, and one of her friends had told them that Shraddha and Aftab had moved to Delhi a few months prior and had been staying and working there. However, they said that they had not had any contact with Shraddha for the last few months and told them that her phone had been switched off for some time. Now extremely worried, Shraddha's father reported her missing at the Mumbai police station in September of 2022. The police started their investigation and soon tracked down Aftab, living in the same Chadapur apartment. He was called to the Mumbai police station for questioning. He told police that Shraddha does not live with him anymore. He claimed that she left with another lover on the 18th of May and that he did not know her whereabouts. The police did not pursue him further, thinking he was a depressed boyfriend whose girlfriend had left with another man. When the Mumbai police were not able to find any leads, however, they transferred the case to Delhi police, as Delhi was the last known location of Shraddha. Shraddha's father traveled to Delhi in early November and gave every detail that he knew to the Delhi police. Delhi police went to Aftab's apartment in Chadapur and questioned him. He again claimed that Shraddha left with a lover and that he did not know where she was. He also told police to find her quickly, as he was worried and had tried to contact her but to no avail. Police then checked Aftab's call records and found that after May 18th, he had not contacted Shraddha at all. Police also found that Aftab had told his landlord a different story than what he told police about why Shraddha was not with him. Suspicions immediately fell on Aftab, and he was taken to the police station and interrogated. During this interrogation, Aftab broke down and confessed to killing Shraddha. On the night of the 18th of May, just 3 days after moving into their apartment, Aftab claims that Shraddha started pressuring him to marry her again, but Aftab did not want to, and they started fighting, and it turned violent. During the fight, Shraddha started screaming at him, and in extreme rage, Aftab recalls that he held her neck and choked her. According to Aftab, he was trying to silence her. However, by the time he took his hands off Shraddha's neck, Shraddha was dead. Aftab told police that even though he realized that he had just killed Shraddha, he was oddly relaxed. Aftab said that he slept that night in the same room where he had killed Shraddha. He then woke up the next day and started planning regarding how to dispose of her body. Aftab loved watching crime thrillers, and he admitted to the police that he was inspired by the American TV series Dexter. So, the next morning, he went to the market and bought a refrigerator. The following day, he went out and bought a saw, plastic bags, bleach, a backpack, and a few chemicals from different shops. All the while, Shraddha's body was still in their apartment. He then dragged her body into the bathroom and began chopping it into very small pieces. He then put them into plastic bags and put the plastic bag into the freezer. He would store the rest of her body in the lower compartment of the refrigerator, where he also kept his groceries. To mask the smell in the apartment, he lit several incense sticks and used disinfectants and chemicals. He also utilized several chemicals, as well as bleach, to wash the bathroom so that no bloodstains could be detected by forensics. According to police, Aftab's search history contained searches such as how to destroy a body, how to remove bloodstains, and how to decompose a body. Aftab recalled that after killing Shraddha, the breaking down of her body took 10 hours to complete. He recalls his exhaustion at the end of the arduous task and says that after he was done, he drank a beer, smoked some cigarettes, and proceeded to take a shower. Aftab reportedly was fond of ordering food from local restaurants on apps such as Zomato or other online food delivery apps, and so he ordered food to be delivered at his home. Police noted that in the aftermath of his crime, he would always order for 2 people in order to deter suspicion. He would go on to eat the food and put the leftovers in the very same refrigerator in which he was storing his girlfriend's body. On the 21st of May, Aftab got up around 1 to 2 a.m. in order to take out a few plastic bags that had body parts in them. He put them in a backpack and took it with him. He would then walk to the Meharori forest area, which was about a 20 to 30 minute walk from his apartment. There, in the forest, he would dump the remains. He would not simply abandon the plastic bags, but would empty them onto the forest floor so that the remains would decompose faster. He would then separately discard the plastic bags. After dumping the parts, he went back to his apartment in order to make note of how many body pieces he had thrown away. He would make a rough note of where he dumped each and every body part. The police would later find this diary in his apartment. For the next 10 to 15 days, until around June 5th, he would wake up at night, take out a few of the plastic bags with the body parts, and throw them into the forest. He meticulously would plan which parts to dispose of first, depending on which part would start to decompose at the earliest. On June 5th, he dumped Shraddha's head, but before that, he poured kerosene over it and lit it on fire so that it became unidentifiable even if the head was found. He disposed of the remainder of the parts in several different areas of the city. Aftab reportedly dumped the tools that he used in the Meharori forest. Police were in shock as to how he was able to do all of this in an area which is quite densely populated. Even his neighbors were shocked, as they had no idea that Shraddha had even been living there. While he was dumping the body parts, Aftab also started using Shraddha's phone and pretended to be her. He would reply to friends on WhatsApp, and he posted on social media several times so that her friends and family would not get suspicious. Police also found that during this time, Aftab was active on dating apps such as Bumble. He met a woman through this app and invited her to his apartment. She spent the night with him. All the while, Shraddha's body parts and her head were still in his refrigerator. The woman, however, was unaware of this. Police noted that Aftab was strangely calm and relaxed during his interrogation. According to police sources, there was no remorse visible on his face during his interrogation. It was later found that Shraddha's phone was last active on October 23rd. After that, Aftab reportedly threw her phone into Vasai Creek in Mumbai. He did this when he was called to the Mumbai police station for questioning in October, when Shraddha's father had finally reported her missing. During their initial investigation, the Delhi police found a pending water bill from Aftab's flat. The Delhi government provides 20,000 liters of water for free. While most houses in the neighborhood have no water bill, Aftab's flat had an outstanding water bill of 300 rupees, which led them to suspect Aftab was using his flat for nefarious purposes. Investigators believe that Aftab may have used a large quantity of water to clean up the blood stains. They note that Aftab probably left the shower on while carrying out his gruesome crime, so that he could cut the body parts easily with the blood flowing directly into the sewer. Neighbors told police that Aftab would regularly go and check the building's water tank. Their suspicions grew stronger when they found out that Shraddha's phone was used on May 26th in order to transfer 54,000 rupees from Shraddha's bank account to Aftab's account. Aftab had claimed that Shraddha had left him on May 18th, only carrying her phone, and that he had no contact with her since. The location of the bank transfer also turned out to be in the Chhatapur area. Besides this, on the 31st of May, there was a chat with her friend from Shraddha's Instagram account. When the police found out the location of Shraddha's phone, it was also in Chhatapur. When questioned as to why Shraddha's phone location was traced to his exact home, even though he claimed Shraddha had taken her phone with her, Aftab could not answer. It was at this moment that Aftab finally revealed the truth. It took 6 months for anyone to actually realize that Shraddha was dead. By that time, most of the body parts had decomposed. Police were able to recover 13 bone fragments from the Mehrori forest, and they were sent for forensic testing. On December 15, 2022, a forensic report stated that the bone samples found in the forest matched the DNA of Shraddha Walker's father, Vikas Walker, confirming that the remains did belong to Shraddha. Shraddha's head, however, has yet to be found. The police have also not found the murder weapon. Investigators also found weapons at Aftab's flat, including knives and a handsaw, but they are yet to be conclusively linked to the crime. Police conducted a forensic test of Aftab's apartment and were able to retrieve traces of blood, even though he'd cleaned his apartment several times with chemicals and bleach. On December 23, 2022, the traces of blood retrieved from the apartment were confirmed to belong to Shraddha Walker. The 2 forensic reports were crucial to the investigation, as police so far did not have concrete evidence against Aftab. The case had heavily relied on Aftab's confession, as well as circumstantial evidence, which are not admissible in court. Aftab could have easily said later in court that his confession was coerced, and the police would have no choice but to let him go. The Delhi police are scrambling to find corroborative evidence which could help in the investigation and result in a conviction. The investigation is currently ongoing. Shraddha's heartbroken family continues to hold out hope that the murderer will be brought to justice.